Yes, Didi.
May I start?
Yes, Didi.
Chapter 13 is Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga. Now, before entering into this new Shatkam, let us see how the 9 topics of the Bhagavad Gita have been divided among the different Shatkams. The essence of the Bhagavad Gita is brought out in the Mahakavya, Tvam, Tat, and Asi, which means Tvam represents Jivatma, which is predominantly discussed in the Prathama Shatkam, that is from chapters 1 to 6. Tat represents Paramatma, which is essentially spoken about in the Madhyam Shatkam, that is chapters 7 to 12. The last or the Antim Shatkam, chapters 13 to 18, which we are going to enter into, where we will see the essential nature of Paramatma and Jivatma. They are one and the same, and that is what we call Asipadartha. As far as the sadhanas are concerned, the first 6 chapters spoke a lot about the importance of Karma Yoga, our efforts in getting knowledge. The next 6 chapters about Upasana Yoga, grace, they talk about the importance of being able to access grace. And from now on, it's an uphill task because we have to understand the intricate aspects of Jnana Yoga, specifically Atma Jnana Yoga, that is values and principles of values. From the chapter 13 up to the very end, we will see each sloka is going to speak more and more about the importance of values. Today, our life can be described as MBBS. Now, what is this MBBS? Our normal life is so repetitious and repetitive. So when it becomes too repetitive, it tends to become meaningless, burdensome, and boring struggle. Hence, we see the triangular format of life, that is Jiva, Jagat, and Paramatma or Ishwar. Chapter 13 tells us how to move out of the triangular format of you or the self, Jagat and Paramatma, and enter the binary format through a greater understanding of who I am. Here, the fundamental laws of Vedanta are very useful. The first law, Kshetra Kshetrajna Viveka, is the body and the knower of the knowledge. The second law, I am my body, I am not my mind, I am the witness of my body and mind. Body is an instrument. Whatever happens to me, that is the body and mind, will not affect me, the self. I as Atma am Nirguna. No attributes are infinite. If we understand this, we can claim our infinite status. Now, this chapter has a very philosophical angle and takes us to a higher level of understanding consciousness existence. So I hope that I will be able to do justice to this chapter. Shri Krishna begins the chapter by describing what is meant by the field and the knower of the field, that is Kshetra and Kshetrajna. He reminds us that this knowledge is not something new, that it has come directly from the Vedas and the Brahma Sutras. He then describes the field in detail by listing its modifications, such as the great elements, the ego, the senses, and so on. A list of attributes or qualities that are needed in order to escape the influence of the field is also given. These qualities include humility, lack of arrogance, and so on. These qualities are termed as Neyam. Now, Neyam means means of knowledge. From shlokas 1 to 6 in chapter 13, Shri Krishna explains Kshetra and Kshetrajna. Krishna starts with Kshetra, this body to which we are intimately attached and experiencing. Attachment to our body is stronger than any other attachments. Kshetra, Kshetram, and Shariram all mean the same thing. Our body undergoes several changes and ultimately decays and death follows. Body is that which is subjected to decay and destruction. We often hear the saying, as you sow, so you reap. Our body is also like an agricultural land where seed of papa or punya are sown. In the subsequent shlokas, Krishna adds consciousness, that is everything that we experience, through what I have termed as BMW, that is body, mind, and the world. So BMW is the kshetra. The ever-changing BMW is matter principle. Kshetrajna, which knows the kshetra, the knower of the kshetra, the subject behind the kshetra is kshetrajna. Every object experience is the experience of the subject. When one sees a picture, which is the object, we do not relate it to the eyes. Another example is that when we see a photo, we do not perceive the camera. Hence, knowing the kshetra is the perceiver experience, which is consciousness. Perceiving the kshetra, the field from the limited kshetra of the body to the limitless kshetra through kshetrajna is what we have to discriminate. He is self which exists in the body and in every living and non-living objects is part of that limitless consciousness or Paramatma. Body is only incidental because with death, the self becomes one with the infinite Paramatma or Jivatma. Shloka 2 is the essence of this chapter. The second shloka is the essence of this chapter. Moving on to shloka 5, the field of activities is composed of the 5 great elements, the Panchabhuta: earth, water, fire, air, and ether or space. Also, it consists of 5 sense objects: the taste, the touch, smell, sight, and sound. We also have the 5 working senses: voice, hands, legs, genitals, and the anus. The 5 knowledge senses: eyes, ears, tongue, skin, and nose. Mind, intellect, ego, and prakriti are the primordial form of material energy. Primordial form means the unmanifested form of material energy. Shlokas 7 to 11. Let us move from shloka 7 to 11, move on to jnana or values or sadgunas. Krishna gives us 20 crisp virtues. To gain knowledge of kshetra and kshetrajna is not merely an intellectual exercise. Unlike bookish knowledge that can be cultivated without a change in one's character, the spiritual knowledge that Sri Krishna is talking about requires purification of the mind. These 5 verses describe the virtues, habits, behaviors, and attitudes that purify one's life and illuminate it with the light of knowledge. And ignorance of these values is a bigger sin. Shlokas 12 to 18, Neyam, the supreme Brahman and the ultimate truth. The supreme self, the Brahman, the knower of the field or Kshetrajna, the Sat or the existence aspect of Brahman is indicated first with attributes such as hands, legs, and so on. The Chit or the awareness aspect of Brahman is also highlighted using the phrase, it is the light of all lights. If one understands the discrimination of Kshetra and Kshetrajna, it is the ultimate knowledge. Day and night are like 2 sides of the same coin, for one cannot exist without the other. We can only say it is day in some place if night too falls in that place. But if there is no night, then there is no day either. It is only perpetual light. Similarly, In the case of Brahman, the word existence is not descriptive enough. Shri Krishna says that Brahman is beyond the relative terms of existence and non-existence. The same example of gold and bangle. Remove the gold from the bangle and the bangle is non-existent, while gold is existent. Gold is Satya and bangle is Nitya. In Shloka 13, everywhere his hands and feet, eyes, heads, and faces, his ears too are in all places, for he pervades everything in the universe. While our senses exist in one place, God's senses exist everywhere. Hence, God sees everything that happens in this world. He hears everything that is ever said. Existence principle is explained. World rises, stays, and resolves in existence. In the 17th shloka, Krishna makes a startling revelation that the real you is the conscious principle, Chit. It is the light of all lights and it is beyond darkness, Tamasa Param. In the 18th shloka, he is the source of light in all luminaries and is entirely beyond darkness of ignorance. He is knowledge and object of knowledge and the goal of knowledge too. He dwells within the hearts of all living beings. Now let us move to Purusha and Prakriti, which are given to us or explained to us in shlokas 19 to 21. Now, shloka 19, know that Prakriti is only material nature and Purush is the individual soul, are both beginningless. Also, know that all transformations of the body and the three modes of nature are produced by material energy. Now, what is this material energy? It is nothing but Maya or Prakriti, illusion, matter, material energy, body, mind, senses, intellect, jiva, incomplete knowledge, and I am plus this or that. There is a cause and effect phenomena explained over here. Being an energy of God, it has existed ever since God has existed. In other words, it is eternal. The soul is also eternal, and here it is called Purush or the living entity, while God himself is called Param Purush, the supreme living entity. Purush is the consciousness, pure bliss, nirguna, agartala, abhokta, the non-enjoyer, I am. Not I am plus this and that. It is plain I am. I am is Purusha, and anything added to this, for example, I am thin, I am tall, I am intellectual, I am brave, I am courageous. This is all Prakriti. And only I am is the pure consciousness. In Shloka 20, the matter of creation, the material energy, is responsible for the cause and effect in the matter of experiencing happiness and distress. The individual soul is declared responsible. In Shloka 21, when the Purush or the individual soul seated in Prakriti, the material energy, desires to enjoy the three gunas, attachment to them becomes the cause of its birth in superior and inferior wombs. In the previous verse, Shri Krishna explained that the Purush, the soul, is responsible for the experience of pleasure and pain. Now he explains how this is so. Considering the body to be the self, the soul energizes it into activity that is directed at enjoying bodily pleasures. Since the body is made of Maya, it seeks to enjoy the material energy that is made of the three modes or the three gunas, the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. In Shloka 22, within the body also resides the Supreme Lord. He is said to be the witness, the permitter, the supporter, the transcendental enjoyer, the ultimate controller, and the Paramatma or the Supreme Soul. Shri Krishna here has explained the status of the Jivatma, that is the individual soul, within the body. Now, in this verse, he explains the position of the Paramatma, the Supreme Soul, who also resides within the body. He previously mentioned the Paramatma in the third shloka as well, when he stated that the individual soul is the knower of the individual body, while the Supreme Soul is the knower of all infinite bodies. For example, you take water. We can consider water as Atma, the waves as Jivatma, and the ocean as Paramatma. In Shloka 23, those who understand the truth about the Supreme Soul, the individual soul, material nature, and the interaction of the three modes of nature will not take birth here again. They will be liberated regardless of their present condition. Ignorance has led into the present predicament. Having forgotten its spiritual identity as a tiny fragment of God, it has fallen into material consciousness. Therefore, knowledge is vital for resurrecting itself from its present position to shift from I am plus this and that to only I am. Now to the concluding verses, sadhana and phalam, which are explained from shlokas 24 to 30. In shloka 24, the Lord says that some try to perceive the Supreme Soul within their hearts through meditation, and others try to do so through the cultivation of knowledge, while still others strive to attain that realization by the path of action, Atmani, within oneself. We all know from the previous chapters that we go through Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga to achieve moksha. These are compulsory steps and we have no choice. Now, there are 5 ways or steps in which we can achieve this. Firstly, Karma Yoga, that is right action with right attitude for the purification of the mind, Mala Nivrutti. Focus on the Brahman. Upasana Yoga means we need to go extrovertedness and integrate everything with the mind. This is Vikshepa Nivritti. These 2 steps put together by Krishna as Karma Yoga. Now we are ready to accept the knowledge, the Sankhya Yoga. This is Shravanam, which is the systematic study of Vedanta through a guru for Ajnana Nivrutti, followed by Manana to clear all doubts in the mind, Samasya Nivritti, to get rid of all your troubles. Now, with the firm conviction in your knowledge, you need to do dhyana. Being and brought up in this materialistic world, the samsara, we are all conditioned to have reactions to circumstances like happiness, grief, anger. These are our vasanas. With constant dhyana, you internalize your knowledge and remove these vasanas. That will become vasana nivritti. With this, you realize your true self. Upon covering the sadhanas, Lord Krishna then moves on to phalam, which is beautifully explained in shloka 30. There are various layers in this shloka. It states the diversity in beings, bhuta pruthag bhavam, are based on one ekastharam, that is one alone. One who sees will attain Brahman. There are many concepts here that have been brought under a single verse. For example, let us take this room. We all agree that it contains space. The next room may be the kitchen, that too contains space. It is inside the room alone or outside also means that space is and was always there. The structures within have been built inside this space. These are all enclosures within the space. If we replace this space with Atma, what do we see? That my body contains consciousness, not just my body, but every body has a consciousness that we have come to know that consciousness is all pervading like space. This body is needed for worldly interactions. So it is not only inside this body, but it is outside as well. All beings are resting in this consciousness. Everything is born from and rests in and resolves into the Atma or consciousness. Phalam, the phala of attaining Brahman is fourfold. It is equality in all beings, saves us from desires and hatred. Oneness with consciousness is eternal existence. Freedom from notion of doership and to assimilate with Brahman. In order to get to a stage where we can discriminate and distinguish between the field, the kshetra, and its knower, kshetrajna, we have to go through a curriculum of sadhana or spiritual practice. Shri Krishna provides this roadmap of steps as karma, bhakti, raja, and sankhya yoga. The key thing, however, is to orient or attach ourselves to the imperishable Ishvara or Paramatma and to detach ourselves from the identification with Prakriti, which is the storehouse of all action and diversity. Shri Krishna concludes this chapter with two illustrations highlighting the existence and awareness, the Sat and the Chit aspects of the Supreme Self. The analogy of space is used to illustrate the all-pervading, unattached, untainted, and singular nature of the Supreme Self. The analogy of the sun is to illustrate the knowledge, awareness, and non-acting nature of the Supreme Self. The chapter ends by asserting that the fruits of knowing the true nature of the Supreme Self is moksha or liberation. Those who perceive with the eye of wisdom the difference between kshetra and kshetrajna and the phenomenon of liberation from Prakriti with her evolutes reach the supreme eternal spirit. Jai Shri Krishna. I have tried my very best to summarize this difficult chapter, which has got a very philosophical angle to it, to the best of my ability. Thank you all for listening patiently and for the inspiration given by Anchal ji and Shraddha ji and all the members of this group, as well as Gita Parivar, for taking me forward in my spiritual journey. Jai Shri Krishna. Thank you very much.